To anybody who's already pre-ordered this thing, sorry in advance. Keep watching the video.
I took every drug known to man at the same time to stimulate every corner of my brain. And this is the result.
What's good, nerds? Welcome to the Movie Mass, everybody. I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you're all very well out there. It is I, His Holiness, Lord J, the Movie Monk. And I was recently looking on Amazon. I needed to add a replacement knob for an air conditioner. And for some reason, Amazon wanted to see if I would buy this thing right here. So they were like, hey, did you forget something? You're here to buy a $4 replacement plastic knob. Maybe you'd like to spend $150 on this while you're here spending $4. And I thought that's one hell of an upsell. But then it reminded me that this thing is even coming out at all. And I decided that, yeah, I need to complain about this. This is something that I need to bitch about. The box sets, especially Steelbook box sets, I feel like are something that has been really going strong for the last year, 2 years or so. It feels like a slightly more recent trend. I mean, it's always been there. Box sets have been a thing as long as home video has been a thing. But the 4K, the premium, the prestige Steelbook box set that they charge a little bit of a premium for. The numbers are limited. It goes really fast. It's hard to get. It becomes $500 or $600 on eBay. I'm definitely thinking about the Nightmare on Elm Street box set that kind of came and went pretty fast and goes for disgusting prices these days online. And it's certainly not the only one. There was a Steven Spielberg box set. That one kind of makes sense because you're grouping films together, even if they're not part of the same franchise, like Nightmare on Elm Street. At least with the Spielberg, they're all from the same director, so it sort of makes sense to put those together too, as a survey of his work. If you were from like another planet and you were somehow unfamiliar with Steven Spielberg's work, you could pick up that box set and it would give you a good overview of his work, probably without diving too deep into things. It would at least give you like this high level. So I appreciate the box set for that. We've got the Kubrick box set, of course, coming out. Like the Spielberg box set, it makes sense. You're grouping a single filmmaker's work together and then selling it to fans of that filmmaker all together in one package. It can be a really great thing. So I'm not here to complain about the concept of a box set. I think I'm really here to kind of complain about this box set specifically and maybe why I think this thing is it's not problematic. You won't hear me use a word as stupid or silly as problematic. It's not problematic. It doesn't need to go away. It doesn't need to be outlawed or banned. I just think it's kind of silly and pointless. That is unless, this is the caveat, if you've pre-ordered this thing and you're brand new to 4K collecting, or maybe you're brand new to horror and you don't own any of these movies on 4K. This box set then sort of makes sense because it's an opportunity to get these 5 movies for $150-ish, which is roughly $30 per movie. That's not that big of a discount. I'm just saying. But if you don't have any of these, fine. I think the main problem I have with this box set, however, is that it is an assortment of films that, with the exception of Little Shop of Horrors, have all been out on 4K for like at least a couple of years. I've had a 4K of The Lost Boys on Steelbook for, I don't know, 5 years maybe. I've had Nightmare on Elm Street Steelbook for 2 years-ish, almost 2 years. I do not yet own Poltergeist. It'll happen at some point. And as I said, Little Shop of Horrors was just recently announced. That'll be coming out soon. I do plan on grabbing that. The Shining I've got. So really, the value proposal of a box set like this to someone like me, who I'm assuming you are, I'm assuming if you're watching my channel of all channels, if you're watching my channel to get your physical media YouTube channel fix in, you've already dug pretty deep in this rabbit hole. So I'm guessing you probably already have, maybe even all 5 of these movies. For example, if you own The Shining like I do, and you plan on buying the Kubrick box set from Criterion later this year, like I do, this would be your 3rd copy of The Shining. Do you need 3 copies of The Shining? Do you really want to spend more money on the same movie? Buying a movie 3 times really kind of limits the amount of money that you'll be able to spend on other movies that aren't The Shining. So the same goes for any of the other movies in this box set. Nightmare on Elm Street. I bought the first Nightmare on Elm Street when it was first announced on 4K. I got the UK version of the little box set with the Steelbook inside it. Then, of course, the large Steelbook collection comes out. I did manage to pre-order the second print run of that, so I've got a copy of that on the way. If I were to buy this this box set here, this 80s horror box set, that would be my 3rd copy of Nightmare on Elm Street. Do I need a 3rd copy of Nightmare on Elm Street? I need a 3rd testicle more than I need a 3rd copy of Nightmare on Elm Street. And I've already got kids, so I don't need a 3rd testicle. So hopefully I've made my point. These films they're already out, with the exception of Little Shop of Horrors. They've already been out for some time, and chances are good that collectors out there, maybe even you, have already copies of these films. So that's a bit of a problem unless you're brand new to collecting, as I said a moment ago. The other issue that I've got with this box set is that it's really just kind of a grab bag. It almost functions as maybe like a top 5 of 80s horror films, except Little Shop of Horrors is a good movie. I don't know that Little Shop of Horrors is a horror film. Like, I know it's got horror in the title. I know it's got a plant that eats human beings. A dentist gets chopped up with an axe and then fed to the plant. All of this stuff is rather horrific. And I have a previous video on this channel from, I don't know, about a year ago, wherein I described how traumatized I was by Little Shop of Horrors. The Rick Moranis version, the version that's coming out on 4K later this year, how traumatized I was by that film as a young lad, a wee lad of maybe 7 years old or so. My mom thought it was a good idea to show me that film. It scared the shit out of me because I was too young to understand the tongue-in-cheek humor. And then when I got a little older, I want to say I'm 12 or so, I finally revisited Little Shop of Horrors, and it dawned on me. I suddenly realized things kind of snapped into place. And as a slightly older lad, I realized that it's just it's a silly movie. It's very silly. The concept is silly. It's a bit horrific, but it's very silly. You've got all of the music. I mean, it's a musical. That really should pull you out of the horror of things. If people are stopping to sing, that should pull you out of the horror, which it does, in my opinion. It's really just kind of a silly, funny, silly movie. And so I'm not sure that something like that really goes too well with The Shining. Very different films. Little Shop of Horrors and The Shining are really very different films. They're very odd bedfellows. I think something like Nightmare on Elm Street is very good, and it's also a good reflection of like what 80s horror kind of is or was. I think even Poltergeist is a great one to throw in there for distinctive 80s horror films. I just think you do have a problem when you're curating a small assortment of movies to go together into one package, but they're not part of the same franchise and they're not made by the same filmmaker. So the real obvious reasons for pairing these movies up together is removed. You don't have the same filmmaker doing the work, and you don't have them all as part of a single continuity where it makes sense to present them together. Now you have to come up with reasons for why The Shining and Little Shop of Horrors should go into this box together, with The Lost Boys included and Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, you could talk me into maybe Nightmare on Elm Street and Lost Boys both going together because they're a little bit more edgy. They're a little bit more focused on adolescent characters and adolescent audiences. Like, this is what the cool kids were watching in the 80s. I think you might be able to talk me into Lost Boys and Nightmare on Elm Street as being aesthetically similar in that regard, but The Shining and Little Shop of Horrors, it does feel like you're going to have to, I don't know about twist yourself into pretzels, but you're going to be a little bit flexible to be able to mount a cogent and believable argument for why The Shining and Little Shop of Horrors most definitely belong together in the same box set. So to me, this list of films just kind of feels like a grab bag of things. Warner Brothers was just kind of looking around in the glove box, like, what do we got in here, you know? What can I, like, just throw at these assholes to get them to shut up? Give me some of your money. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like an assortment of films that were already out there on 4K. These are not new transfers to my knowledge. I would be very surprised if there was any new restoration work or transfers going into these. So it's almost like really low-hanging fruit. You know, somebody at Warner Brothers just walks through and, let me grab one of these and two of these and one of those, throw them in the cart, and we're out of here. And there you have it. You've got this box set that is just kind of this random grab bag of stuff Warner Brothers had laying around. I also think that the artwork, I think that's kind of where if you're like me and you own most of these movies already, if you're like me and you don't really understand kind of why they've thrown all these, they're all Warner Brothers films, right? There's the spoiler. Warner Brothers just threw shit at the wall, and whatever stuck randomly was what went into the box set. It almost feels like they just kind of closed their eyes, you know, and did this and like reach into the hat and like pull the name out and, oh, okay, Little Shop of Horrors. And then they do it again. Oh, The Shining. Okay, it makes perfect sense. Like, they just, what 4Ks already exist that we can throw into this sort of package, which again makes sense if you're brand new to collecting 4Ks. It does not make sense if you're a long-time collector, if you've been buying 4Ks for the past 8 or 9 years. So I will say that the artwork is really, this is the reason why, if you already own these films, you're buying this box set, right? It's got this aesthetic. It's got the VHS aesthetic. It does have that retro kind of 80s feel to it. It doesn't look like slick modern graphic design. It has the retro stylings, retro logos for Warner Brothers and Warner Home Video and stuff like that. I will say it annoys me that they're not lined up perfectly. Look at that. They're like sort of off a little bit, which would make sense if you were buying like different VHS from different series and putting them together, but it just, visually, it's like I want that to line up. I understand it's supposed to be a throwback, it's supposed to look a little bit messy, but even still, it's a minor thing, but it triggers me in a way that like I should be able to let this go, but I can't, that type of thing. That's a minor complaint. Obviously, if I didn't own these movies, the misalignment of the Warner Brothers logo would not deter me from buying this box set. It also comes with a few tchotchkes inside, you know, a couple of like 80s horror films, sort of generic 80s horror film tchotchkes. So, you know, 150 bucks, that's kind of a lot for movies that you probably already own, plus a cool package, at least cool in my opinion, plus a few tchotchkes. Honestly, if they put that VHS art, the retro art that they use for that library case, if they put that on a t-shirt or something like that, guys like us probably would buy that t-shirt lickety split because it looks cool, but then B, it's $15 instead of $150, and then C, I don't have 3 copies of Nightmare on Elm Street and The Shining, which I don't need, you know. It's better to just spend that money on movies I don't already own twice. If you were, until this video, wicked excited about your pre-order for this, I hope that I have not dampened your excitement. I hope that you can still receive this in the mail, open it up, feel the butterflies inside you and think, hell yeah, like I'm gonna pop this new version of Nightmare on Elm Street in again tonight. I'm gonna watch Nightmare on Elm Street for the 3rd motherfucking time on 4K, on a different 4K disc, and see if it looks the same. It's gonna look the same. So I hope that I have not deterred anybody from their enjoyment of this. I don't feel like you shouldn't enjoy this. If this is something that you're into, it's something that you're into. I'm not here to judge. I don't want to advocate for something to be taken away from you. At the same time, I would hate to see a lot of resources in the future go into something like this box set, because it would just be cool to see Warner Brothers doing like new stuff, publish some stuff that we don't have on 4K yet, do new restorations and stuff. At the same time, I don't begrudge Warner Brothers making some cash off of this, because I want companies to make money off physical media, because I want companies to understand that it's a profitable venture for them, so that they'll keep doing it and they'll make some shit that I want to buy. So by all means, go spend your money on this one. I ain't hating. I mean, maybe a little bit. Sorry, a little bit. I had to hate a little bit and bitch about this box set. Like, who's it for? I know who it's for. It's for the 4K noobs. And all you 4K noobs out there, I appreciate you for hanging out this long and watching this video. I appreciate all of the 4K noobs. I appreciate all of these fine folks. Are not at all 4K noobs. These are like 4K veteran professionals. And if you're still watching this video, made it to the end, I love you very much. I drink this in your honor. A toast to you fine people. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace, y'all. I'm out.
You are physically repulsive, intellectually retarded, you're morally reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.